Hello and welcome back. So in the last video, we were learning about the Ponziani opening. We have seen the numerous traps that we can do. We have also seen how you can win a game from the white side in just 8 moves. In the last video, we have covered the move knight f6. So after e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, c3, we have covered the move knight to f6. We have seen pawn d6. We have also seen bishop to c5. Now in this video, we are going to have a look what does the Grandmaster's response and what is the correct response for black. So stay tuned. Here after this, we have seen what happens after knight f6, we play d4 and there are a lot of complications there. d6 also we have seen white gets ahead in the development as well as in the material. Bishop c5 loses to pawn d4 or knight e5 immediately. Now the right way here is to play the pawn to d5. So the best response here, what the advanced level player or the grandmasters would do is to play their pawn to d5. Now after they play their pawn to d5, we are going to play our queen to a4. The idea behind queen a4 is to pin the knight and take advantage by capturing on the e5 square. We are putting some more pressure on the e5 square. Now here, if he captures your pawn on the e4 square with his d pawn, then we will be capturing on e5 and your threat is to capture on the c6 square. He captures back and you are going to win a pawn as well as this will be a fork. Now let's say if he defends it with the bishop, playing his bishop to d7, then you simply capture it, the queen recaptures and you can play a bishop to b5 or you can simply capture the pawn on e4 and you are a pawn up. He blocks the check with his bishop and you play a pawn to d4. Continue the development normally. White is ahead in development, having two bishops and they are open in the diagonals, having a knight, and it is overall a good position for white to play. Now let's say after you capture on e5 square, he is not defending it with his bishop to d7, but if he is playing his queen to d5. Now the idea behind queen d5 is protecting the knight on c6 square, attacking your knight on e5 as well as protecting the pawn on e4. I mean, what else can you expect from the move like that? They're doing 3 jobs at once. But this also fails to first you capture on the c6 square. Now he cannot capture it with the queen. Can you guess why? If you know the answer, pause the video, answer your moves in the comment box. The correct answer here is the bishop to b5 would pin the queen and he will lose the queen. So he cannot capture on the c6 square with the queen. So what he'll have to do? He'll have to capture it with the pawn only. And now look at these 3 pawns. They are so much weak. This is an advanced isolated pawn and there's a 2 doubled isolated pawns, so they are weak and will always be vulnerable. The queen will have to stay on the d5 square to always protect it. Let's have a continuation. What can white do here? Now white can sacrifice a pawn temporarily. First you play or attack the queen, play a bishop to c4, gain an extra tempo. The queen will have to protect the pawn to c6, so we'll have to go back on the d6 square. And now you sacrifice the pawn, play a pawn to d3. When he captures it, you can definitely not capture it with the bishop, but you instead just castle. Now your next idea is to either play the rook to e1, give a check, or you can also pin the pawn by playing your rook to d1 and gain it later. Here, if he plays a normal looking move like knight to f6, then you can play a bishop to f4. He cannot capture your bishop on the f4 square because then bishop f7 will lose the queen. And if he captures on the f4 square, then also you can capture on the c6 square, give a check and win the rook. That is also one of the possibility. The other possibility is playing the bishop to f7, giving a check and winning the queen with a discovered attack. Now let's see what if he's not capturing on f4. Instead, he's going back with the queen to d7 square. Then you first capture the pawn, bishop comes in, and now you play a bishop to f5, annoy him, give him an attack. Now if he captures your bishop, then you capture on the c6 square. Doesn't matter with which piece he blocks it with the knight, you capture it. Now if he captures your bishop, you are going to capture this. Bishop by bringing the right. Okay, this was when the opponent replies with queen to d5. Now let's have a look at the correct response, the best response from the black side here. The best response is not to capture on the e4 square, but is to play the bishop to d7 and unpin the knight. After the knight gets unpinned and you lose a pawn on d5, let's say he captures it on the d5 square, then we can move the knight. It will be a discovered attack on the queen. The knight can go on d4 and the bishop attacks the queen. If the queen saves herself, the queen will have to come back on d1 square because the knight on f3 was also in danger. He captured and you capture it back with the queen. Now black is ahead in development, but white is also not doing very bad here. If he places knight to f6 trying to attack your pawn on the d5 square, you give some extra protection to it by playing your pawn to c4. After the move bishop c5, you can play a knight to c3, he castle, and you solidify your position just by playing your pawn to d3. Now this is a mesh and black is definitely ahead in material, but white is also doing fine. Overall, this position is equal. So that was the correct response from the black side. I hope you enjoyed this video, and for more such amazing tricks and traps, stay tuned with us. Till the time, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel and share with your friends and family. Thank you.